Next speaker, we have Anthony Luczak. He came in from Lafayette, and I'm sorry, Dr. Andy. Anthony came in from Lafayette. He is an advanced practice nurse practitioner. He also deals with mental health, and he has a very unique role, very specialized role in treating pediatric cases of, well, I'll let him describe, but he deals with pediatrics. So he is going to talk to us about nutritional deficiencies and mental health. And, you know, we talked about growing plants and nourishing ourselves well, but the most important thing in life is our children. You know, it's the next generation and moving forward. So I appreciate specialties that take care of our children, especially their mental health. So please welcome Anthony Luczak. And plug that in there. And thank you everyone for your patience. My day job is not putting on events, so this is really appreciate your patience in general for the flow of everything. And it is hot in here, but it's because we are blessed to have so many vendors, caregivers that are interested in showing their craft to us. So we appreciate all the vendors that have come. If you haven't gotten a speaker schedule, please pick one up on the way out. Inside of it is an insert that lists all the vendors. So you can look that up, and then on our Facebook link are several of the vendors showcased, but I'll add several of the ones that we haven't gotten a chance to showcase. So support them, you know, get more information there. All right, here's Anthony.
Hey guys. Whoa, it's loud. I'm loud. I'm so glad you're here. I need to conscript someone over there to press the buttons because the space bar can you help me, Doc? Space bar. There you go. I have a very expensive assistant today, right? Appreciate it. So my name is Anthony Luczak. Because Evelyn asked that I share where I work, usually I don't do that when I talk. This is my clinical practice. I'm a certified pediatric nurse practitioner in primary care and a pediatric mental health specialist. So I'm a nurse with advanced practice training, taking care of children from birth to 22. And within that, I have a second subspecialty in developmental behavioral pediatrics. I promise to not lie to you. And I say that to all my patients. And I think it's important because we trust each other today, right? And so I promise to not lie to you. I don't know when I've been lied to, but in good faith, I'll tell you the best I can. I was a little intimidated about giving this talk last, and I put the PowerPoint together at like 4:30 this morning, but let's see how it goes. I think you'll see some of the slides are similar. We're going to start with an overview of what pediatrics is, if it works. Space bar. Oh yeah, that's my Substack if you want to take a picture. Evelyn maybe promised that I would like put some of this up on my little Substack where if you wanted to follow it. So I'll have guidelines for the different things that we talk about, because each one of these slides I could go like 15, 20 minutes. So there you go. So what is it to be human? So like raising kids, well, you know, the organic farmers were like, or you know, a chicken is a chicken and needs to do chicken things, right? The pig is a pig and needs to do pig things. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be human? So I believe human beings are made to do real things in real, right? Real things with real people in the real world. I believe biology matters. It matters a lot. And that healthy human beings need to eat real food and exercise. Life's an adventure. Go back. Life's an adventure. So we all need meaning and purpose to navigate it, right? You have to have meaning and purpose. If you don't instill meaning and purpose in your children, they will find either no meaning and purpose or whatever the culture says the lies. All right, now we're going on. So children are healthy and well when this is based on the definition, right? When they're free to exercise, and I mean that in a different way, their innate ability to do real things with real people in the real world. That's what a healthy kid is. That's what we all should want for our children, I think. Biologically, we know this occurs in time. Dr. I could talk to you about neurodevelopment. It's really fascinating. I love it. I love that he mentioned Skinner and Frankl. But children, I want every patient in my clinic and my own children, one of them is here, to develop into an adult that's doing real things in the real world with real people, right? And maybe having children of their own and passing that adventure on, because that's the biggest adventure of life. I view disease as an interruption in some way of that process, right? And so health, if you have the definition of health, disease is an impediment to health. Now, I'm a developmental behavioral person. I take care of some really sick kids, but fundamentally they're sick because they're not able to, or they're impaired from functioning in that way normatively like we would want for all healthy children. And my goal is to work with parents and families to be able to get the kids doing as much as they possibly can, right? So we're gonna fly through these real food slides. Guys, I think it might be a very strange coincidence that you're going to notice a pattern in these slides. So how many here are parents or grandparents? Okay, we got a lot. Yeah, I am too. All this stuff we've been talking about impacts not just your health, it impacts your kids. Okay? So we need to eat real food. For me, it's kind of the inverse. We've heard about this stuff. I think every person here that you heard speak today would agree that the American industrialized diet is toxic and causes harm. It's nutrient depleted. It causes mineral deficiencies that are very difficult to test for medically, right? And insurance often won't even pay for those tests if the tests exist. So we're going to talk about a little bit of that later. The basics, if you want me to be basic, to the extent you can afford it, eat real food, in season, locally grown, in sustainable, regenerative ways. I wrote that slide at like 5 in the morning, guys. I didn't know what they were going to talk about today. I don't even know those people, except I nerded out with one of the farmers about physiology and chemistry of soils and stuff. But do not eat fast food. Do not eat processed food. Full stop. You need to feel guilty if you have to take your kid to a fast food restaurant. If you're like Catholic, you should be confessing it, right? And if you're not, you need to confess it to your brother or sister. It is toxic. So we live in the freedom, I believe, of the new everlasting covenant with Jesus. But there's a role for thinking about food with impurities. And so I'm not saying that eating these foods taint your soul. But I think it would be helpful if you thought about it that way and taught your families that way. Okay? So this is Anthony's rules, what I would love for everybody to have in their families as impure foods. Like, you are sinful if you do these things, and your kids need to understand, we don't do that. We don't eat that pork like in the Old Testament, right? They'd rather get tortured to death than eat the pork offering. How many of you give your kids lollipops? Right? Well, how many of you would get tortured to death rather than give your kid a lollipop? Impure foods. Artificial flavorings, I could give you a Substack article that's like 6 hours about them. I was trained on it I went to Yale, my physiology professor talking about it. It is evil in so many ways. It is evil. It is fundamentally gaming your nervous system in connection with fat, sugar, and salt to hyper make the food you eat addictive. That's why you can't make Oreo in your home, because you don't have that artificial flavoring. So what should be number one on your list of impure foods? Artificial flavoring. Anything with artificial flavoring, you are compromising your family and your children's health and setting them up for toxicity and addiction. I promise. High fructose corn syrup is a man-made sugar. Sugar's bad, but like high fructose corn syrup, physiologic changes in your GI system, changes your gut biome, hyper extends the villi, which absorb nutrition, and promotes obesity. We know the physiology of it. It is hypertoxic. You want to kill a kefir plant that bubbles, feed it high fructose corn syrup. You want to kill your biofilm that you're fermenting your stuff, put some high fructose corn syrup in there and see if those things grow. They don't. They don't. I know I tried. So, oh no, it's coming up. The next one is chemically preserved foods, right? And then sugary drinks. Get rid of your addiction to sweet things. Artificial sweeteners is on the list. It should be. It's not okay to be. It messes with your brain. This guy could talk to you about it better than me, but like it lies in your dopamine response, and you will try to seek out sugar if you do the artificial sweetening, because you're trying to lie to the behavioral training that your brain has to get a glucose spike, and it doesn't work. You're going to find it a different way. The research supports this. So food goals, what do we say? That was the forbidden. Food goals, real whole foods, preferably that are locally grown and sustainable regenerative practices. I didn't know those people, okay? Support your local farmers. Yay! Grow your own eggs, backyard urban gardeners. I kind of knew they would be here, but avoid chemical fertilizer, like organic at the grocery store. This is important. I want local regenerative practices in my food source as an ideal. Whole foods, organic, does not mean local, regenerative, sustainable food source. And it doesn't even mean free from chemical, man-made fertilizers and herbicides and insecticides. It means less. Okay? And a lot of your local farmers can't afford the process to certify, and it doesn't even make sense for some aspects of sustainable agriculture. If possible, for meat, animals that we consume should be as close to consuming the thing that they would be consuming in the wild. So grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Go hunting, right? Go fishing. Less grains, less sugars. This is where I'm putting my flag in the sand. In my family, we try to limit grains and sugar. We do a ketogenic carnivore diet. And it has had amazing and very, like it works so well for us, and it's so restrictive, but it works so well that it's frustrating, because I would love to go back to having my wife bake bread. But it works so well that it's just, so ruminant, ketogenic, carnivore diet. The docs on the panel could argue for hours about what's what. That's what I do in my family, okay? Okay, everyone always talks to me and wants me to tell them what supplements to give their kids. I'm pretending we're at a well visit. There's really just a few. For me, my patients, they don't have a lot of money. They have almost no money, some of them, like none. And so I need it to not be expensive. I will not participate in some multi-level marketing, no matter how great the product is. Low risk of harm, and it has to physiologically make sense, because biology matters a lot, right? So supplements for well children make sense to me, but that's because of those soil deficiencies that we've heard about if you were here for the beginning talks. If the plants are kind of eked out without all the micronutrients they need to take in, then even the animals aren't, well, the beef actually is supplemented because the cows don't produce as well if they don't give them minerals. So if you guys know, how many people here raise cattle or something, you always have to have a mineral block, right? Do you think that the bison had mineral blocks? I don't think so. They might have found some salt in a river stream or something, but the soil wasn't depleted, so the grass that they ate had the whole nutrition the animal needed. We don't, very rarely do we have pastures like that, so we supplement the animals, which increases the mineral content, because otherwise they wouldn't produce. And then that's how the carnivore diet is kind of an exception to later, okay? And that's that. Direct sunlight. This stuff, isn't this amazing? I don't know. Direct sunlight. We need to be in the sun. Our kids need to be in the sun. We're made to do real things in the real world with real people. Okay? Magnesium deficiency. This is every patient in my clinic. If you come to my clinic, I'm going to tell you your kid needs to be on magnesium supplement, because nobody in my clinic actually does the carnivore diet. So I'm going to say you need to be on magnesium. There's some cool ways to get it. I tell my people, unless you're a Sean Troxler disciple, I give a shout out to Sean. So magnesium is really cool. I can nerd out on it. When they test your blood for magnesium, they're testing the blood. But the deficiency I'm talking about is inside the cells. Free-floating elemental magnesium is necessary in your cells for physiologic enzyme activity. It's called a cofactor. The enzymes in your organs don't work the way they're supposed to if you don't have magnesium. And off the top of my head, I got ADHD, depression, anxiety, PMS, infertility. Did you hear about some of that today? Yeah, we did. PCOS, we could add that. Eczema, asthma, constipation, bone issues, joint issues, as well as cardiac issues. I had PVCs, palpitations once I hit 35. Guess when it went away? Guess what I started doing? I started supplementing with magnesium and it went away. I don't need metoprolol. Okay, I've seen children cured from anxiety and asthma with magnesium supplementation, and was able to discontinue psychopharm or controller inhaled steroids for those children. I didn't say I cured them. That's the parents. That's the parents complying and choosing to give it a try. Guys, this stuff blows my mind, and I'm sure the providers here will, like, it's Sean, isn't it shocking when you see it happen? Every time. It's shocking to us because we're so used to this system of disease and toxicity. Once you get compliance with these things, it changes the game completely. Wellness is possible, but you must say no to the stressors of the culture. Epsom salt baths. This is what I recommend for the kids and the autistic kids, and I see like 4 or 5 kids with autism a day in clinic. I'm like, most of them are taking baths, so I want them on Epsom salt baths, but not the liquid stuff, not the soaps. I don't care whether you, I don't buy Dr. Teal's, but like half a cup to 1 cup in the bath, depending on how much water, 30 minutes, once a day for 2 weeks, and then once every other day for maintenance. Transdermal happens. If you want to argue with me, like go talk to someone that does MMA, right? Like you get it transdermally. Okay, if you can't do that, the kid doesn't take a bath. In my house, I make my own magnesium blend. I'm a nerd. So I got like 7 types of magnesium. You can ask my daughter. My wife makes fun of me. I have blends. But you can talk to like one of the naturopath people if you want to really nerd out on which salt is better for what. About 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium. If you take too much, you're gonna have diarrhea. All right, next. It's self-limited. You take too much, you get, and it won't hurt you. Here comes the sun, vitamin D. My clinical level, this one the docs will test for, normal docs. I want 65 or higher. Is that a good level, Sean? He wants higher. They're saying good. All 3 of them, they're saying it's a good level. See, 3 of them agree. We do not believe that the normal lab value is meaningful in a clinical health perspective. You must have sufficient vitamin D stored in your body, not just in your blood, in order to have those stores for health of enzyme function, hormone production, and that's where the other stuff comes. I didn't even bother going into the research in it because it's so apparent. But like, start with 2,000 for the real younger kids, and then around school age, jump to 5,000. Don't bother doing a level if you're not supplementing or your kids are in the sun between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. for several hours with their skin exposed every day. If you're not having one of those, don't even bother checking your level until you supplement it for 3 months. All right, electronics. This is where it's like the rubber hits the road, and this is different because nobody talked about the elephant in the room. Real things, real world, real people. Guys, this works because it games our biology and mimics those good things we are driven to do in the real world, and they monetize it. And it will harm you. So TikTok needs to be deleted from everyone's phone. If you have TikTok on your phone today, you are giving the Chinese Communist Party permission to take my talk. And I don't appreciate that. Because that's included in the user agreement. They can turn on your mic whenever they want. That's what the government cares about. You can read my Substack about why I care about TikTok. It is an evil AI that tries to manipulate you and find out how to tempt you to be a worse person, specific to you. It's so addictive that Facebook had to change their method of manipulating your time to compete. And that's what they said to their shareholders. Okay. So, AI right now, this is like really important, cutting edge stuff, whatever. The AI is out there on the interwebs. Number 1 target, some of you in the room that are over 65, they want your retirement. It's very complicated scams. It's about 1 in every 30 websites is linked to AI trying to scam seniors. And it's third party, so you don't know which company's website has it. It's third party code. Second is preteen and teenage girls. I am not talking about these things because I read them. Okay? Like, I've seen what happens. when parents don't pay attention to electronics. The predators are seeking to cyber traffic preteen and teenage girls out of their bedrooms by preying upon developmentally normative feelings of body discomfort and awkwardness that are amplified by our current hyper-isolated electronic culture, grift them into an online cyber-sex relationship, and then, when possible, traffic them. Do you agree with that? Okay? You've seen it too? It's hard to not cry, right? You don't think it'll happen to you. Give your kid a cell phone and don't pay attention to it, and give them free access to the internet. The last one is teenage boys. They want them doing drugs and selling drugs. About 16, 17 to 21. That's the way the AIs are working. Those are the three main groups. So my rules. This one I came up with my son because he's very sensitive. Because I could shock you guys, and I wanted to be sensitive to it. It's like a church building, and but he said I needed to talk to you about it. I needed to include this slide. I wouldn't be responsible if I didn't. So Anthony's rules for electronics. I want every parent to approach screen time for their child as if it were an extremely toxic, harmful addiction like a crack pipe that causes brain damage. You can have your kid use your cell phone as long as you're okay with the guilt. And if you're not feeling guilt, don't have your kid use your cell phone. This is all screen time though. We've proven that underage 2, no screen time is ever healthy. They've lost lawsuits over this. They've had settlements. Remember Baby Einstein? Those are old like me. They've lost major settlements over it. So the only reason we don't go older is because, well, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to try to say it's extremely toxic for like 42-year-olds to use these things, right? So we don't want to look older than that in our research. You agree with me? Is that okay? Like, I don't think they want to really look at it. Minimal screen time, no social media, no selfies, no videos online, no talking with things. I said things. And that's the way you should approach it with your kids. Things online that may be people or AIs that are not actually people known in the real world. You should have a high level of scrutiny over all access to internet and streamed and posted content, assuming they are going to get into very bad, very harmful content and try to undermine your plan of parenting whenever possible. And they're going to try to access things they can't, like a crack addict would. If your kid has a cell phone, they need to go through detox if they won't set boundaries. It's 4 to 6 weeks for a neurological reset for electronic addiction. That's what I talk through in parents. 4 to 6 weeks. That's the same amount of time for a crack addict who went through withdrawal to go through the cloud, what they call it the cloud, of the neuro reset. Right? I mean, yeah. So, there was one more, I think. Okay. No, that was it. Yeah, there's some shocking stuff. So the porn slide, children are exposed at younger and younger ages. You guys would be scandalized at the current research. It's shocking. You must discuss and monitor and protect children. There's some really great resources. I don't have them right now. I'd like Moms for Liberty to try to keep the porn out of the schools and the libraries. I want to give them a shout. Like, those moms. If you're not involved in that and you're a parent, you should really look them up, because even if your kid is homeschooled like mine, like they're willing to pay the price to protect the kids. Look, I use Andrew Huberman, Huberman Labs teaching on porn. This is, it will destroy your brain in a physiologic manner. Pastor can talk to you about the theological aspects of porn. And it's amazing to me how the theology is able to be proven scientifically by, as far as I can tell, an atheistic neuropsychologist at, I think he's at Stanford. And so what it does physiologically to your brain is it destroys that part of you which is driven to do things in the real world. That's evil. If you're addicted to porn, you need to be set free. And the only thing that I know of that breaks addiction is a person named Jesus Christ. Whatever your addiction is, freedom comes from Jesus. We don't have a lot of research about anything but God breaking addiction long term. Exercise. Look, exercise physiology lady. Look, she was awesome. I try to boil it down 4 minutes, really intense. 20 seconds on, you're running from a tiger, 10 seconds walking, that's it, right? 8 times in a row, back to back. Once they're school age, I want parents to do Mark Lawrence or Body is Your Gym. It stages the exercises. If you can't do a push-up, do a push-up against the wall. Grandparents can do it with kids too. And it goes like all the way to like the gymnasts on the Olympics and all the way to like, I don't know, some of these internal meds like seniors. Like it's body weight exercises, it's fantastic. Okay, have the kids do a sport. That's a real thing in the real world with real people. It's not as good as pickup games like I did when I was a kid. If you live in a neighborhood where that happens, I prefer that to organized sports. Organized sports have a certain benefits, but it's not as cool. Like real pickup games, the social learning happens there in an unstructured way, which is important for brain development in children. What sport does Anthony like best for kids? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's a lot of physiologic reasons for this. My kids, all 3, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I try to get all my patients into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, especially between ages 10 and 13. Between the ages of 10 and 13, you go through this developmental phase where you are laying down foundations for your brain structure that stays with you for the rest of your life. And you build on it as you age. If you're doing cell phones, that's all you got. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's not karate, it's not taekwondo. This is something where you can do it from day one. You will progress. You will learn you're going to trigger your physiologic responses of anxiety and have to learn how to have that mastery. No, that's not his word, but authority over it. Physiologically, here you go. It's the type of exercise that makes the most sense. It also does a whole lot of good for your muscles and bones. It forces the violent kids that are bullies to lose fights if it's a good studio. And it triggers that fight or flight physiology, and then they have to learn how to have authority over it. I'm using Doc's words here, but it's the same concept. You guys see this? Isn't this amazing? I think it's amazing. So meaning and purpose. Does this sound familiar too, right? I did not write this. I promise I did not write the slides after I heard talks. Everyone's molded. We have to choose. We choose what to mold our children with. Nothing grows in a vacuum. If you think you're making a free human being just by letting him grow spontaneously, you won't end up with a free human being. You'll have a patchwork boy composed of whatever is prowling about in the culture. He'll be about as far from freedom as you can get. And then, I'm almost done, Evelyn. I got like 2 slides left. Religion is important. So, if you don't share your religion, something else is going to replace it. If you don't have a religion, I challenge you what your grandma's religion was. If your grandma didn't have a religion, look up Pascal's wager. I believe in a real God that does real things for real people in the real world. I'm going to skip MTHFR. You can talk to any of these providers about it. Education, I like homeschooling kids. there's compromises that you do when anyone else educates your children. If you send your kid to any school, you have a moral, ethical obligation as a parent to be involved in that school and protect your child and to make sure they know that your family and your framework and meaningful approach to the world is different than whatever school they go to. Right? That's actually the link to my community health center. So it was nice meeting you guys. Thank you for your time. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Anthony, this was a summary of all things wellness.